So, as you can hear from my voice, I'm pretty sick, but this game comes off embargo today, and so here I am, the glamorous life of a video game journalist. Ironically enough, that's a heck of a segue. This is Dead Rising 4, and you have Frank West. You are not hallucinating. That is Frank running around in an Akuma from Street Fighter cosplay and a flaming Triceratops mask. This is one of the major fun factors of this game, is the costumes and the crafted weapons you can play in the game. It is a straight up brawler, kind of three types of combat: thrown weapons, melee, and projectile weapons, so guns, rockets, that sort of thing. RPGs are fun. And variations on those three themes. You have the entire game. It's not rocket science, but that's part of what makes it good, especially when you're sick, because it is relatively mindless. But it is mindless fun. Now, that's not to say there isn't a lot of fairly thoughtful design put into it. There are things that break up the shooting gameplay, and this is one of those moments. You have a camera. Again, Frank's a photojournalist, and so you can take pictures of the people you meet to get information on them. There are also investigations, and we're going to get into one of these that requires the night vision goggles. Hey, there we go. Investigate, and you open up your camera. That outfit is ridiculous. While we're doing this, because this is going to take a while, because I'm stumbling around in the dark, and that you'll see the camera goes orange. The viewfinder goes orange when you're near a clue, but that clue can sometimes be behind things. It can be on the ground. It can be on the ceiling. So you have to hunt around for it. Controls in this game are not terribly precise. And that's one thing I want to kind of caution you on. If you want to play with precision, this is the wrong game. This thing is a brawler, plain and simple. It's basically kill as many zombies as you can and a few asshole human beings. Repeat, repeat, repeat. It is designed to have a lot of replay value, like a lot of other Japanese games of this sort. You sort of play through and then you go through and find all the unlockables and everything like that. So if you want a game that, you can kind of blow through and to get the idea and then go back and master, this is a good one. There's a lot to find in each level. The levels are quite big, and they're not intended to be, 100%ed on the first playthrough. So don't do what I did, which is go through and try to find things on the first try. You'll burn a lot of time because the game doesn't tell you what you should be doing in those moments until later, especially on the first level, when I burned a ton of time in the mall. I'll give you a brief tip to save you some time. If you can't find a room, flip on your spectrum analyzer. It's right on the D-pad. It can show areas that are hidden to you. You don't find that out until this level I'm playing now. Jerks. Because it does come in handy. Yeah, I know I'm kind of ruining the playthrough, but you know what? I respect people's time, so if that little thing will save you from going back and playing a level or wasting a lot of time, I'm gonna do it. Because it actually is a pretty fun game. There are some bugs in places. Sometimes the game will not freeze, but you won't be able to switch weapons anymore, and that gets really frustrating. I managed to, reset it without resetting to the next checkpoint once. Another time I did have to go back and just, restart the checkpoint. Fortunately, I lost almost nothing. There are a fair number of checkpoints in this game. So, if it does happen, it's not the end of the world, but hopefully they will patch that relatively soon. This took me far too long to find this part, probably because I'm sick. I'll give myself that excuse than just being kind of brainless.
That's not right.
There is a lot of trial and error and a lot of experimentation. Don't hoard ammo overly much. There are a couple weapons you'll figure out fairly quickly have a specific purpose. Things like RPGs and a crafted weapon that's kind of a combination crossbow firecracker, which is my absolute favorite weapon in the whole game, will serve you well in clearing out hordes and hordes and hordes of zombies. And you can attract zombies with a flare gun like this and then blow them up at your leisure. Still try to find the gameplay for the range stuff, but I thought that was cool to show you. There is a lot of freedom to figure out how you're going to get through these mountains and mountains of zombies, but there are sort of things that are wrong as opposed to right. You'll notice I change costumes a lot here because I find it fun. Part of the enjoyment for me is making Frank look as stupid as possible because the whole thing is just goofy. I wouldn't say there's a whole ton of survival elements. Yes, there's crafting and all that. And there is some stealth mechanics, but I find it few and far between when you can really use them just because there's so many zombies on the screen a lot of the time. The fun is just blasting away, and you know, you have elemental attacks like you see there. Fire has sort of a damage over time effect. That's a nail gun right there. But yeah, the fun is just, and I'm trying to shoot them in the leg there, but I'm too far away. The fun is figuring out your favorite way of taking out the zombies. I happen to like melee attacks in games that you can use them just because they're splattery and fun, and the gore effects that they put on Frank are pretty neat. Like blood just goes everywhere, and so I enjoyed that. As much as I like a good sort of jibbing, you know, body just flying apart, it is kind of cool when they take the time to have semi-realistic gore. I don't know about fully realistic gore in games. It hits that uncanny valley, and I find it less enjoyable, but that's just me. When it's done well, you know, I appreciate it, but I prefer it surrealistic as opposed to realistic. Just me. I'm hucking boxes of nails at them right there. And there's a little close-up special move. You hit Y and B together to get those little close-up effects with melee weapons. I find them very satisfying. I like them a lot for that same reason, because I really like the way they did the gore in this game. Here we come on. This is just a small amount of the zombie hordes. There are a lot of freaking zombies. There's the explosion I enjoy so much. That took a while to find. I love that weapon. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I forget the name because it's something silly right now. I like the goofy crafted weapons. I will use them whenever possible. Although I do switch to general kind of melee weapon when it's just a few here and there zombies, because you know they do have a limited number of hits. That's an electrified Christmas wreath as well, but they do have a limited number of hits, so I try to save the special weapons for, you know, when I'm semi-surrounded. You don't want to get too surrounded. You don't want too many zombies getting behind you. There's another special move again, because then they become a pain in your butt. But if you try to clear completely, this is the skill tree here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of customization. I found that starting with the survival stuff and filling those up first was the way I like to play, just because the survival stuff gives you I found the most notable perks early in game. After you plug these in, you can go back and fill in the melee weapon and the shooting and the fortitude stuff. But I liked starting with the survival skills just because I found it made the most difference early on. I'll show you the first major boss you'll encounter. For quite some time you're only dealing with the hordes, so don't worry about becoming too much of a brawler. I'm giving you these tips because my concern about this game is that it's just going to suffer from the huge amount of competition at Christmas. I understand why they put it out at Christmas. It's a Christmas theme. There's more shelf space, more people are playing games. And yes, not everybody will be playing Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy isn't the only major competitor out right now. I mean, Gears of War is a monster franchise. Watch Dogs 2 is getting a lot of good hype, but, you know, there's a lot of games out there right now, and so I'm a little afraid this one's going to get lost just because it's simpler. And simpler doesn't necessarily mean not as good. But, you know, this is one of those games that you could get on a sale. Here's the selfie mode that zombies kept trying to interrupt. Damn you zombies. Don't interrupt my selfie, that's rude. But, you know, this is a game you could wait a bit to play and lose absolutely nothing. There is a multiplayer mode, but, you know, it's, it kind of is what it is, and it, you know, it does have a certain amount of social commentary about, you know, what it means to be a journalist, and I sympathized with Frank more than I really want to admit about, damn it, sometimes you do just want to get paid, and, you know, there's sort of a balance of the character he's chasing, one of the, I don't necessarily know that you call it an antagonist, but that is the role she kind of fills. She's a student of his who gets disenfranchised with him, disenchanted with him because he's, you know, he doesn't care about the people. He wants to get paid for his story, and I know that's supposed to make him an anti-hero, but to me that kind of made him make sense. Like, when you've been doing the job for long enough, yeah, you care about, you know, the importance of what you're doing, but the arrogance gets stamped out of you just by getting screwed over so many times, you know, working your butt off on something and then not getting paid for your work. That getting paid becomes surprisingly important because you can't chase down the next story if you don't get paid for this one. The bills have to get paid. You know, the ramen noodle has to be paid for. So it really, I'm curious how personally game reviewers are going to take this. Oh, let's be frank, game reviewers usually take things very personally, and for me, I was like, yeah, I'm on Team Frank. I won't get paid, but I'm sure some other people will be rather rough on that main narrative in this game. That wasn't a spoiler, by the way. The game gives you that in, like, the first level. So relax. This is a spoiler-free review. This is fairly early in the game as well, and you won't get too much plot here. But I do want to show you this level, this bit of gameplay I like, because this gives you sort of a mix of what you can do. You'll notice the weapon switching is very fast. It's not designed to have you camp on one weapon you really like. You want to get comfortable with a wide range of weapons because they all have their place. You know, an electrified axe will help you fight in the dark in some places. Having a giant, you know, two-handed weapon isn't always the best tool for the job. But let me jump ahead to a really hilarious part a little later on in this level. So, here is Frank dressed up as a reindeer with a Christmas sweater in one of those dark parts I was telling you about. This is a really dark game, deliberately in parts, because it does have a night vision mode on the camera, but also, you know, it is not a super challenging die-a-lot game. I died once in the tutorial level and then didn't die again for a very, very, very long time. It's not that kind of game. But it has its own kind of challenge. You can't just, you know, zip through it with absolutely no resistance. But yeah, it's not going to challenge you too much. It's kind of zen. Like, it's kind of relaxing in its own way. I know that probably sounds sort of funny, but it's true. I found this a very relaxing game to play just because it isn't super adrenaline-y. You know, it's not one of those ones that you won't be able to go to sleep for an hour and a half after playing. And you have these really funny visual moments with the costumes that continue on over into the cutscenes in a hilarious way. And let me show you a bit more gameplay so you can see, you know, a small sample of just how many zombies are on the screen. You'll see the counter, bottom left. You know, I'm approaching 5,000 zombies killed this level. So there's a lot, and this is sort of the main highway in it's the exact same town as Dead Rising 1. It's very much an homage game, and that's part of the plot, but I won't dwell on that too much. But you can see just how many zombies, and that's why I say you don't use the stealth mode very often. You use it more against the human enemies. And you'll see I'm stuffing firecrackers in their heads and then rolling away as they explode. I really like the area of effect explosion attacks. It is like my favorite thing to do, just because, yay, fireworks! Fireworks are happy. And yes, this is a penguin head that is an ice attack. There are so many parts of this game that just understand me. That is a toilet plunger with a speaker on it that attracts a whole bunch of zombies before exploding. Love it. Notice my favorite things tend to involve explosions. I regret nothing. But I mean, it's that sort of creativity in the combat that you're going to be playing this for. Like I said, it's probably going to be a lot of people's second choice this holiday. You know, if you're not a Final Fantasy fan, you might be a Watch Dogs fan, or you might be a Gears fan. So, you know, I'm concerned that this is going to take a while to catch. And God, there's other things. Like, it has quite a late release date on the calendar. And like I said, Final Fantasy sold so well, it's, you know, obliterating everything else. But it is quite fun. You know, it's one of those good ones to keep in mind. And wait for that sale and make sure you get it, because it is a super lot of fun. Here's a brief vehicle bit. That you'll see not very much, but you'll just see that, yeah, the purpose of them, unless you craft a special one with weapons, is to just run through. And here's a stealth level that I'm going to play with a reindeer on my head. And here we are in the junkyard, crawling with soldiers from the completely indistinguishable merc group of this game, but they are tougher enemies than the zombies, and it does change up the pace nicely, and that's the entire purpose of mercs in a game like this, because really, mercs are slightly above zombies on the flowchart of human-like enemies. You don't feel terribly bad killing, because most mercenaries are quasi-sociopathic or totally psychopathic people that are not very nice, and if you don't kill them, they will kill you. They're still human beings, but, you know, there is moral justification for blowing away a heavily armed merc with a grenade while wearing a reindeer head. I cannot describe the joy I felt going through this with a reindeer head on. It was great. Let me jump ahead a bit more to show you a little bit more of a heavy, because this is more fun to play than watch.
What are you getting yourself into?
So here's Frank eavesdropping in a reindeer mascot suit.
Shame you're not proving as useful as your friend. Take care of him.
I love that. And here we are, our first boss fight of the game. And it's not that hard. I got through it in one try, even though I didn't do it properly at all. You're supposed to get behind him and hit the tanks. I had no idea how to do that. So I just hucked grenades at him until he went down. But I did it in a reindeer suit. And it was fun. It was exciting. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I was sure I was gonna die. But I didn't. I made it out. So it's maybe I accidentally hit his fuel tanks. I don't know. But this is my beginning coverage of Dead Rising 4. I might do another video just to sort of show people how insane and fun it is. But also I'm hella sick, so I wanna do one where I'm slightly better. I don't know how much a day is gonna make, but hopefully it will. But thanks for sticking it out with me having half a voice. There will be this and possibly another game, and then eventually I will get to Dishonored 2, but I have to buy that one. I don't have, despite my best efforts, I have no contacts for review copies at Bethesda, and as you guys know, they don't send anything out until after launch anyway, so. This game was provided by Microsoft, full disclosure, we gotta do that. Just, you know, all that stuff. FCC rules and just ethics in general, but it also gives me more time to watch, you know, have you guys watch gameplay of him running around in a reindeer mascot suit. This is probably a good time to disclose that, like, mascots are one of my favorite cheesy things ever. I've done mascot work. I love mascots, and I don't think mascots get nearly enough love. Just for the record, no, this head would not stay on while all this was going on, but that makes it even funnier. So, hopefully you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, just for sheer fun factor and goofiness and the fact that it's fun to play. Like, yeah, the controls are kind of loose, but it doesn't really matter. You're just chopping through zombies hack and slash style. Like I said, don't expect it to be anybody's first choice this holiday, but it does have a lot to recommend it. So if you do get some time after you've burned through your personal wish list, I recommend this just as you know, what games are supposed to be. It doesn't necessarily reinvent the wheel in any way, but it's incredibly fun, and it has a real sense of humor about itself, and that in and of itself is a creative challenge. Being, you know, with us being inundated by memes and cat videos and all this sort of lowest form of internet humor type stuff, games that can still make us laugh through interactive segments and not just relying on cutscenes and dialogue for the funny, that's its own kind of design challenge, and I want to give this game credit for that. So hope you enjoy, and should I finish the boss fight? It's almost done. This was at the point I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? This isn't working. And the zombies were mocking me. And then I'm just like, screw it. I'm gonna do it wrong because it is taking damage. You know, Dark Souls, this game is not. Wouldn't Dark Souls with mascots be awesome? Someone make that game. Someone make Dark Souls with mascots. Oh, I guess it did sort of blow up somewhat behind him. Oh, that did blow up behind him. Okay, I did it right despite myself. And then, okay. Okay. I didn't completely suck out. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.